The world of AI is growing so fast. And thankfully, here at Walsh College, we not only have degree programs built around AI, but we also have some of the industry experts that are speaking it and making sure that everybody understands what the future of this looks like. So today I'm joined here with Chris Hayden, and I'm going to let Chris introduce himself, but I'm going to brag on him a little bit. Everywhere I go in the world of AI and anything I hear around the area, your name comes up, you and Dave Skippers, and talking about kind of what the AI landscape looks like. So I feel very fortunate to have you here today. We're going to talk a little bit about what AI is doing for efficiencies, both personally and on a company level. So I'm going to let you, again, introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us about a little bit of your background and what you do here at Walsh.
Well, my name is Chris Hayden again. I'm an associate professor of information technology, and I've been here about 6 years full-time. And I've worked in the data analytics, databases, programming, quality assurance areas, basically like all trades of thing in IT for, let's just say about two decades or so, mostly automotive and then digital marketing.
Oh, that's incredible. And the ability to tie in the automotive piece of that is really cool.
It is.
Yeah. And now, I mean, we even have the automotive cybersecurity here,
which is an exciting program.
And what a unique thing, too.
Yep.
And I'm sure that AI is getting worked into those courses as well.
It is. Dr. Skippers and I are working that with all of our courses to make sure that we're having some type of element. It's fun. It's just, from an example I did last fall in a project management class of just having ChatGPT write 50 questions and answers, and then the students and I went through for 2.5 hours and just nitpicked to see how accurate it was.
Oh, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. So what I want to kind of get into today is we're going to talk about, we're going to start at kind of the fear of adoption. So right now, AI is moving so fast.
Yes, it is.
If we rewind 1 year ago today, it's kind of starting to become a conversation in the general workplace,
right?
But it's not really. There's still kind of this like, what is it and how is it and those kind of things. When we talk about the fear of adoption from both the personal and company level, what comes to mind for you?
So mostly the one that comes the popular way is for the employees. They're fearful of their jobs and where they're going to go. It's kind of like when the different times in industrial automation and the revolutions that we've had, that people were, with the machines coming in, they were fearful of that. So what we're seeing right now, and what I'm seeing within like the research and looking into everything, and you've said that too, all the podcasts you are paying attention to, that it's coming that they don't want to do it. They don't want to adopt it. They're fearful. They think that something's going to take it away. And so I don't see that, but I'm also a technologist who's worked in this, and change has been very much a part of the career that I've been in for many decades.
Right. From
the World Wide Web and the .com era that I was involved with when I was just a little younger, and to the just the adoption of the cloud and moving to the cloud to now to this is probably the biggest thing that's happened.
Yeah,
since those two items.
Yeah, when you look at those other items, when you look at the speed of AI, how does it compare?
Yeah, just since 2022 when it first just came out and people thought, it's nothing big. Companies are scrambling to move to spend lots of money on that.
Yeah,
and just make sure we have an involvement. We started seeing this in data analytics where people were looking at this, and then Professor Javad Kadabai and I worked with some consulting from a company that came and talked to Walsh about saying, can we have some faculty or people that could help us with this? And they didn't have an idea of what the data analytics were and what they were even doing. They just needed to know that they had to invest in it.
Right.
And we're seeing the same thing with the AI, obviously, AI realm.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, and you coming out of the data analytics world, I'm sure that you probably, in like most times, you saw the numbers were showing that it was happening before anybody else even saw it coming.
Exactly. From the days where marketing analysts were working with Microsoft Excel to just transforming to the open source tools, and now using the machine learning driving and making things better, and just the AI tools that are available. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, similar with Excel and AI. That when you watch somebody that really understands what they're doing in Excel, they both look like magic to me.
They do. They do. They're doing their magic.
They are. It's really. I feel like they just put a little spell on it and away it goes.
Yes.
So you touched a little bit on companies starting to find that they don't have a choice. They need to react to this.
Yeah, as a competitive advantage.
For sure. So what are some of the competitive advantages that companies can find in the AI landscape?
Well, I think that some of the competitive things that they could do is, they've been involving chatbots and those live chat agents, which have been, if we've all experienced them, not the best, but they're getting better, they're getting smarter. So the more that they do that, they can control their costs on live agents in the repetitive tasks. So that's one of the ways. So if a financial services company can get its customers to get their resolutions done quicker, and then they have a better experience.
For sure.
From a CRM perspective and
so the chat stuff's working great.
Yeah.
And now
it's getting much better every day too. Yeah. It's just it wasn't.
It wasn't, and it's still not there. Let's be honest.
The text to speech is even kind of
it's a little loose, but it's getting there.
It's getting better, much better. Just in a year and a half, 6 months. It's been
so beyond chat, what else?
What else do I think? I think that they're going to be able to use it for in the way of trying to find out with social media platforms to see what's trending a lot faster.
Absolutely.
So be it in marketing analyst or marketing person could use it to see what are my competitors doing? How can what are some points that I can bring up to maybe see how we can improve our operations?
For sure. And I mean, I can tell you from the marketing side, we use it quite a bit because in a lot of times, and and I also have the benefit of also being a professor of marketing here.
Yeah.
And so the cool thing that I get here is with my students, I tell them like, look, write your stuff, write your paper like you normally would, but then run it through these systems and let it tell you how you can modify and how you can clarify and how you can maybe draw out some points. And then I want you to revisit that and tell me why is it you didn't do that in the first one? Because I think there's a understanding level that has to take place. And I think if you can start to get your students in a good spot, then, the thing I always joke about with my students though is originally, because even on the higher education side, there was a fearful part, right? Where you're gonna cheat your way through your degree.
Yeah.
And it's just not the case.
It's not the case. I serve on the academic conduct committee too. We don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But the thing is we're fearful in education of the people using that to write their papers. Where I see it as an opportunity for the students to be able to start with research perspectives and look for references. Coming from working on my dissertation, finishing that up too, is looking through the references and providing like a synthesis or summarization. I think that is a awesome tool, and I hope
it's incredible.
Some others' heads might be exploding with that. But that's just a tool that can be used almost like in science fiction, and in the realm of the computer being the ship.
Yeah. And what I tell my students is, look, if I don't encourage you to use these tools, I'm doing you a disservice, because as soon as you graduate, you're going to use them.
Well, you're going to use them, and it does us a disservice as an institution, because we have the masters in AI/ML, we have the generative AI class. We're trying to position ourselves, and we have that perfect thing with the DNA that's built into Walsh.
Yeah,
I'm being a graduate already, and soon to be another graduate. I'm working on that. It's a fun thing. We can actually do what we're supposed to and teach them and involve it. So I try to put something, whether it's in every part of the class, every class that I have, take that directive and then see how we can do that and just utilize it.
Yeah, and it's
hands-on.
Exactly. So the other spot that I find really interesting about AI, maybe you can talk about this from a little bit more of a technical side, is you can use it one day for writing an email, and you can turn around and 20 minutes later you can use it to put together a social post, and now maybe you use it to generate an image that you're going to use for something else.
Yes, there's tools like I'm going to mention one that I was experimenting, like Mid-Journey and stuff that utilizes even integration with Discord and some. And that's pretty interesting that you can do that. The productivity that someone can do, to get from the ability to get the image right as quick as you can and get that to get to the market, maybe with a marketing campaign. I mean, I worked in digital marketing. I wasn't the creative type, because otherwise we'd be stuck with stick figures. So I stick to more of the development and the back end type of thing. So I can see how this is going to be just a wonderful tool to help us speed things up and then get it heads up on our competition.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna ask you to go a little bit further in this one, but what are some, as we talk about companies, and companies are starting to add these efficiencies and they're starting to get involved with AI a little bit heavier. What's some low-hanging fruit that some of these companies can get involved with to really add some substantial efficiency?
Well, in addition to we talked about the chatbots and stuff, they can use it for some of the development opportunities. And what I mean by that is like the code completion, maybe adding additional things. Thinking of it maybe from like a video gaming perspective, some of the companies could add, without having to go through the whole video game development process, add in some of the coding with the code completion, and add different features and parts and skins and these different things in the games a lot easier and a lot faster.
Yeah.
Maybe, and also work on the quality assurance perspective.
For sure.
And trying to test these things and doing the simulations without actually having to have it on the human perspective.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
Absolutely. And there's so many pieces of AI that we don't think about the fact that we've been using.
Well, that's true.
And and I think about, like, I was right before this, I was writing an email and Grammarly pops up. Hey, you spelled this thing wrong.
Yeah.
And it's things that you don't even realize. Spell check is a form of AI, right?
Microsoft spell, and the grammar check, which can be sometimes annoying.
Absolutely.
But it's a great thing, the great tool that helps us increase that productivity. And think about it, you're talking about over thousands of workers.
Yeah.
How much that can improve the professionalism.
For sure.
With students, I can see that, or just employees in general, and the companies, it makes them, especially for like sales promotions or sales pitches that they're trying to do. I can see how that can, eliminate the mistakes.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of the mechanical things that sometimes when we're looking at something, we forget to do.
Yeah. And one of the other things too that I'd love to hear your perspective on is what I've found over time in use of it myself is it very much depends on the prompts that you're giving it.
It does.
And in developing the proper prompt and what that can do. So I'd love to hear your perspective on prompt development for AI.
Yeah, that's a really good question then too, because like the data annotations and there's I've been looking even on some of the things with employees, employment opportunities. There's people out there that are actually the humans that are being involved in, like prompt engineers and prompt professionals like that, where they're looking in to see, okay, they're fact checking, but they're also making sure to see from trying to train the machines more in that perspective. And I think that's going to be something that's going to be definitely present in the next year or two as the machines learn more and as we optimize the models.
Yeah.
And the algorithms on that.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I was listening to an interview. They were talking about kind of the next phase of AI. And one of the things that they had discussed was taking essentially creating a container that is your business, and you would dump every document, every piece of info, everything into this, and essentially kind of making your own GPT.
Right.
And it would allow you to say, okay, now I'm going to use GPT like it normally would, but now it's going to draw from this information that I've given it.
Right.
And now I can say, hey, I need help from a marketing perspective. I need help creating a social media marketing campaign that for the next 30 days, I need one post a day. And you can get as specific as you want.
Yes.
And then ask it to draw from the information that you've dumped into it. Now you may have dumped in a terabyte worth of documents and info, but now it has this thing to draw from along with all of its external things. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on the future of AI, not even just in that context, but what is the future of AI? What is 6 months from now? What is a year from now? What does 10 years from now look like?
Well, wow, that's
it's
okay.
yeah.
Well, I'll do the short-term portion first.
Yeah.
I think one of the things like you're talking about with the intellectual property rights of the organizations are going to be a big concern, and making sure to keep those, basically out from being able to be hacked into. So we have to protect that data, the privacy of that data. But I think there's so much opportunity to be able to train everything off of what the company has instead of just going off of what we see when we're playing around with ChatGPT or Microsoft,
right?
And then working with that with Copilot. But I think it's going to be, gosh, that's a good one. But if I'd like to see it is, I'd like to see it as, to improve vastly upon the cell phone, the smartphone personal assistants beyond the Alexa, Siri, and Google Assistant, where it can just actually help me instead of frustrating me. and I foresee as the machine learning, the algorithms optimize, and with more data and being trained over the vast amount of data that we're going to be having, especially with organizations, I think it's just going to be increasing exponentially. Not just the usage, but the quality.
For sure. You touched on something there that you are uniquely qualified to answer. So here's my other question for you. The cybersecurity side of AI. It's a huge concern right now.
It is.
How much of a concern do you think it really is versus how much people are really concerned about it?
I don't think people are as concerned about the cybersecurity perspective of that yet. I think they're more concerned about getting into and adopting AI. However, I think with the reality of all the data breaches that we've had, and the ransomware attacks and the different styles of attacks, that I think we need to make sure and have the debate and the discussion opened, that we are thinking about this before it becomes a big problem.
Yeah.
Where we start losing all of this information and all this PII, or personally identifiable information is gone. Or worse, for an organization, intellectual property,
Right.
which is an asset, strategic asset. Think about the automotive companies in this area and how if someone was able to breach that, if they're using that.
Yeah.
I've talked to some people through our advisory boards and through actually students, so working professionals that had concerns. Their companies are actually putting a 6-month, this was back in the fall, but a 6-month ban on using anything, merging any of the data internally from the company until they could develop policies and procedures to support that from a cybersecurity perspective. And start talking to some of the cybersecurity consultants to see what they can do.
Yeah.
And since it's so new, it's developing pretty much every day.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I hadn't really thought about that side of it.
Yeah, I mean, you think about like the cyber espionage. You can think about the fact that the hackers are going to start looking for opportunities to hit these. They're gold mines of data.
Right.
So,
and it's so early on, nobody knows how to protect it yet.
That's one of my biggest concerns. And
Yeah.
I think if you talk to other cybersecurity professionals and that, and I'm sure they've thought about that
I'm
too,
sure.
and that's a major concern. But I hope businesses and organizations don't skip over that in that discussion.
Right. And that's a great call out is, if you're an organization who's interested in AI and getting involved, don't skip the cybersecurity part.
No, you should never skip cybersecurity for anything.
For anything.
If anyone ever sells you and is trying to sell you something that says, "Well, we can eliminate your cybersecurity," no, you can reduce or mitigate.
Yeah. There's no elimination.
Didn't mean to yell in that.
Yeah, no, you're good. But I'm glad you did because it draws out that point because I think that's something that people do miss on. There is a level of efficiency that happens, but there is no level of efficiency that's going to outdo the necessity of cybersecurity.
Correct.
And so it's a fantastic thing. So
and then having that open discussion, then open dialogue, and we have to start saying that that has to include different entities. Governmental has to include industry associations and academia, and then just making sure that we're all discussing this and making sure that that's top priority as we enter in this this Wild West, this very opportunistic time, which is exciting. It's probably the most exciting part of the career that I've had so far.
Yeah. Well, and now we get to have you as part of Walsh College and have you in here teaching the next generation of
which
those.
Is exciting.
Which is super exciting. So on that note, I want you to get into this the generative AI course that's coming up. So the way that we're kind of describing is the Gen AI for the generalist.
That's what it is. It's designed. It's designed because we had a need. We were talking with several of our advisory board members again about trying to come up with something that the executives can be sold on. Because sure, we can have rank and file be excited and stuff too, but if we have the executives or the C-level suite people understand, then this is where we can translate it, and then they can understand when they're trying to be sold something, whether from someone internally trying to adopt this or a supplier of some sort. So this course is going to give just even some hands-on experience and exposure to it, and what way it's designed by Soothsayer Analytics on that is going to really provide that and get rid of that gap, that problem that we're seeing where people just don't know about it yet. They want to jump on into it and get into it, but it's for non-technical, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So actually, I want you to go into that a little bit more because I think that's the big selling point there, and that's what people want, because I think so many people are fearful that they're going to go into this generative AI class and be like, I don't
programming in Python or something.
Yeah, like they don't have the background. So I myself, I'm crazy fascinated in generative AI and kind of how that works, but I don't have a background in IT. What does this class do for people like me?
Well, so for the non-technical, which we have in our master's programs too, we have a lot of people coming in from areas that are not technical. It provides a foundation and the fundamentals of the background of AI and generative AI, and it also shows what you need to know, that prerequisite knowledge, gives a little hands-on experience in the tools so that you can understand, and then some use cases or business cases on where that can be applied.
Yeah.
So fun stuff.
So I don't
hands-on, the Walsh approach.
Exactly right. That's a Walsh specialty, hands-on stuff. So for people like me, I don't need to be fearful that I don't have the technical background.
No, that course is going to provide what you need, with the access in the class and the prerequisite knowledge, or in the actual terms of the class time.
Yeah.
And it's great because the hands-on portion, though, you can learn everything and see a PowerPoint demonstration on something, but until you actually get into the different tools and work in it. So, all of us have probably gone through and just tried to open up ChatGPT or Copilot, and what have we done? Just aimlessly go like a Google search in there.
Yeah.
And maybe gotten frustrated. I know some
Right.
people that I've talked to have.
Yeah.
And
Which then goes back to that prompt, the things that we were
prompt,
talking
yeah.
about in how to properly formulate a prompt.
yeah, and that prompt, the way of working with the prompts, that you can think of it like a evolution of how we were taught maybe in early college in English classes or communications classes on how to do library database searches or Google advanced searches. But it's a little bit different than that because it's supposed to be a little bit more conversational. Like not like just give me this, Google,
Right,
or
right.
something where it's actually you can think of it in more conversational speaking.
Yeah. I
which
found a
is
lot of
nice.
success in it by treating it like an intern. Like, and just have
That's
a
true.
conversation and like I'm sending an email to an intern. Hey, can you help me put together this email that talks about these 5 topics, and I want it in a professional tone, and you can give it all kinds of things, and then it's also fun to play with. Like, there's fun things you can do with it too.
Right. Yeah, to customize.
Yeah.
And just to get around. Exactly. And it does. It's such a neat thing. And one of the early things that I already saw was when someone was talking about using it for an Automation Alley conference last year, talking about how they could use it in the marketing perspective. A marketing professional in there said, I can use it for getting 10 talking points for a social media post.
Yep. Yep.
So it's just the endless opportunity.
It's really incredible.
It
And
is.
I think the other thing too that people have to understand is it's not you don't just go in there and say, give me an email that talks about this thing. The more you give it, the more it'll give you.
That's correct.
And if you can go in and build a prompt and say, here's all the details I want to include in this thing, let it go nuts from there.
Yeah.
But give it the ammo to do so. And then know that it's not going to give you 100% at the end. It's going to get you 75, and then you go in and you clean it up and make it better. But you just saved yourself an hour in trying to put together everything else.
You did, because you're saving the time as the professional. You're busy. You have lots of things to do. And you want to use this as a tool. Think of it just like as when that bulky computer came up in the 1980s and helped things out to our smartphones. They're just but it's an advanced tool, something that I don't know what could even something in the future will, but I don't know what could even compare in the past to it.
Yeah.
As far as the impact it's going to have, the efficiency, and just how it's going to change things. And think about the younger generation, how they're going to be utilizing this, and that's how we have to embrace that. As organizations, business organizations, academic institutions, we have to embrace it and not think of it as, oh gosh, they're going to cheat with this or they're going to steal my idea, but think of it as a way to competitively change how you do things, make a better version. And it saves time too, which is very important with the productivity part.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now I'm gonna go even one step further. So we have the Gen AI course, which is awesome.
Yeah.
That's for anybody that holds a bachelor's degree.
That's correct.
And they come in and you can take this as a standalone course if you want it.
Yeah.
But it is part of a larger degree. So let's dive into the master's degree a little bit. So the new master's degree
Yes.
in AI and machine learning.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about that, kind of how it came to be, why it exists, and who it's really designed for.
Well, it's an exciting degree. We just launched in the winter of this year, and we've been working on it for about a year. And we saw the direction coming from with ChatGPT. We were prompted on the work, not to use that as a pun, but we were prompted on trying to go through and find something to move beyond the data analytics to also position us in this specific area, because it was so. AI was slowly evolving over time, but it just went to leaps and bounds with the whole 2022.
For sure.
Changing.
So what kind of stuff are you doing in those courses?
Oh my goodness, they're all hands-on based courses, but some of the 4 courses that are really going to be pretty cool on that are going to be on natural language processing, which helps with generative AI and helps with taking when we're asking questions or working with those prompts to better get the results, get more optimized results. Deep learning. We've got computer vision as some of the options. There's actually, and I know this, don't want people to get stressed out because it's a mathematics for AI class that we also have too. They're mostly the IT courses, and they're going to be mostly hands-on using the tools that we have in there. The other courses that are existing from our other programs give them the backgrounds in the programming, in the databases, in the statistical background to really get them prepared for using artificial intelligence and machine learning. And of course, want to make sure that people know that machine learning is a subdiscipline of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence being that bigger umbrella.
For sure.
Also being part of like the computer technology, computer science area.
Yeah.
So it's going to be exciting because we're going to give them that exposure, because think about not just with the AI tools, but even robotics, thinking about how we're going to have we're going to go into the science fiction again, having those droids around. There's one of some of the top jobs too are going to be involving using the autonomous nature of the robots, and so the AI and ML is going to be very important in that.
Yeah,
so
and it's growing so fast.
It is. So it's a highly technical, highly hands-on, project-based. So we're using the project-based in each of the classes. So we traditionally in the IT realm have something that we've called technology tradecraft.
Okay.
So you're learning and doing instead of writing about it.
Yes.
Not you're running a simulation. We don't use simulation programs.
It's not about theory. It's
no, the theory is important to get the background, but it's not the most important part.
Right.
So we have the project-based thing. So instead of having a midterm examination with questions and true and false and a final exam, we mix that into a semester project. Okay. And then at the students also have the ability to either use like a capstone project or do a practicum, which the practicum it gives them the ability to work with a business organization.
Oh, that's great.
Maybe that they're employed at, maybe that they want to get some exposure with, especially if they're coming in from a non-IT background, which is most of what we have.
Yeah.
From a global perspective.
Yeah.
And we've seen this in our master's programs in MSIT and the data analytics where people are retooling. They're seeing that maybe they're in a certain certain domain, and they're seeing that, okay, what I'm doing in this generalist area is going to be automated, so I need to retool and move on.
So you mentioned the global part of that. Yeah. Where are students coming from that you're seeing this?
Well, we're seeing as far as like countries and we're seeing literally all over.
Really,
domestically, but we're also seeing them coming from Asia, India, Africa.
Yeah.
And so and then we're also we're seeing them come from backgrounds of finance, accounting, and medical. I've had some students coming from medical too, and it's neat how they're changing and just wanting to adopt into this and get to this exciting area.
Well, what a unique way to do it, to have people coming in from really all different industries. Yeah. That's an incredible way, because now you have a different mindset, especially if you take somebody from finance and then somebody from medical. They're going to take an approach at something you're in a class, everybody's just going to kind of have the same thought. But if you're coming from those two dramatically different areas, your perspective on it's going to be different, and you're going to have a different outcome. You're
going to have a diversity of thought that's going to be different in there. Yeah. So they have that domain level expertise that will position them. So if they're coming from a medical background, whether they're coming from maybe as a nurse or from a nursing area, or I don't know what else, if it's something else that we can think of, maybe even like a doctor, I suppose. I don't know if that's going to happen. Well,
but I've seen a ton of the AI coming in to the medical space. Yeah. And the ability for AI to scan these X-rays with an accuracy that is above the human eye. It's just incredible.
One of the advantages of doing something like that is that it takes the specialist. So if we're thinking of a surgeon, and that specialist surgeon's probably moving from patient to patient to patient to patient, and if they can use that, they can see more patients possibly. They can or have more time to just calm down and to be able to breathe and reduce the amount of error that possibly could be introduced.
Absolutely.
They have the AI training and working with that. There's research in medical that's exciting for those applications. Automotive for safety, and the autonomous vehicles, which they're a little bit of ways from as far as that goes, but we'll be eventually there where we can just sit in our cars and let that go. I'd be excited. I can't either.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, I love this conversation. Yeah. I could talk about AI stuff all day long. And again, in 3 months, we may have this conversation again because it's moving so quickly. Yeah. It could be a whole different world. Yep. So, well, Chris, I really appreciate you hanging out with us today and kind of filling us in. And again, I can't wait to talk again in a few months and see what has changed in the last 3 months. And I think
that's good. Yeah. And it'll be nice and I'll report back. I'm doing a roundtable with Automation Alley on March 13th. Perfect. And we'll see what comes from that too. Talking with those big minds like that.
I love it.
Another shameless plug.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. but that's what it should be, right? I love it. You got to bring all the minds together so you can have the diversity of thought and really come together for the collective global good.
And then see what humans can do better.
Yeah. Exactly. Cool. Well, Chris, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to hear more.
Sounds good. Thank you.